From Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, if we could pass that by temporarily, sir.
Thank you, Senator. That without objection, House Bill 1530 will go by temporarily.
On page 11, House Bill 1663.
The Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we insist on our substitute and request a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 18, House Bill 1402, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for committee of conference. And conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chairman of Education and Health, Senator Newman, or Senator Surville, Saslaw, and Peake. On House Bill 1485, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senator Sturdivant, Deeds, and Obenshain. On House Bill 1525, conferees on the part of, the House has acceded to the request for a committee of conference, and conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Transportation, Senator Carrico, or Senators Reeves, Cosgrove, and Wexton. On House Bill 1566, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chairman of Rules, Senator McDougall, or Senators Ruff, Vogel, and Wagner. On House Bill 1616, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Courts, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Stewart, Obenshain, and Howell. On House Bill 1692, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference, and conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chairman of Courts, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Obenshain, Peterson, and Chafin. On House Bill 1697, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chairman of Local Government, Senator Stanley, or Senators Stanley, Carrico, and Marsden. On House Bill 1709, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference, and conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Education and Health, Senator Newman, or Senators Carrico, Suderline, and Peterson. On House Bill 1851, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Obenshain, Stewart, and Howell. On 1941, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate named by the Chairman of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Obenshain, Peterson, and Sturdivant. On House Bill 2074, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference, and conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the co-chairs of Finance, Senators Norman and Hanger, or Senators Ruff, Stewart, and Dance. On House Bill 2092, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference, and conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chairman of Rehabilitation and Social Services, Senator Reeves, or Senators Sturdivant, Black, and Peterson. On House Bill 2207, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees is named by the Chair of Rehabilitation and Social Services, Senator Reeves, or Senator Sturdivant, Black, and Peterson. On House Bill 2296, The House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Rules, Senator McDougal, or Senators McDougal, Ruff, and Dance. On House Bill 2395, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Education and Health, Senator Newman, or Senators Black, Howell, and Lucas. On House Bill 2410, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Reeves, Howell, and McDougal. On House Bill 2449, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for a committee of conference, and conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Local Government, Senator Stanley, or Senators Cosgrove, Stanley, and Spruill. Now, if you turn to page 27, Senate Bill 854.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that we accede to the conference committee.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. The senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Page 29, Senate Bill 1063.
The senator from Bath County, Senator Deeds.
I move that we accede to the House request for a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 30, Senate Bill 1091.
The senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Could that go by temporarily?
Without a,
Just accede.
if you just want to accede.
I move that we accede to a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1239 on page 30.
The senator from Augusta County, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 34, Senate Bill 1412.
The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the House's request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 34, page 34, Senate Bill 1413.
Now the senior senator from Richmond City.
Mr. President, I move that we accede to the House's request for a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
On page 39, Senate Bill 800, the House has insisted and requested a committee of conference.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The
Is that right?
senator from Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that we accede to the request for a committee and conference on SB 800.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 38, no 0, Rule 36-1. The motion is agreed to.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 800 is named by the Chair of Commerce and Labor, Senator Wagner, or Senators Stanley, Donovan, and Barker. Senate Bill 1228, the House has insisted and requested a committee of conference.
The senator from Southern Fairfax County, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that we accede to the request for a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion is agreed to.
Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of General Laws and Technology, Senator Ruff, of Senators Barker, Suterline, and Sturtevant. Page 40, the House has insisted and requested a committee of conference on Senate Bill 1324.
The senator from Grayson County, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we accede to the conference committee.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 4.
Ayes 35, noes 4. The motion is agreed to.
Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of General Laws and Technology, Senator Ruff, or Senators Carrico, Reeves, and Barker. On Senate Bill 1573, the House insists on its amendments and requests a committee of conference.
Senator from James City County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we accede to the request for the committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Senate bills with governor's recommendations. Senate Bill 1144.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStefano.
Mr. President, I move we adopt the governor's amendment and speak into that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Senate Bill 1144 changes the process for providing notice to an application for oyster lease planting grounds. The change moves posting it on the website from 60 to 30 days, no longer requires posting at the courthouse, and adds requirements to mail notices to adjacent riparian right owners within 200 feet. The governor's amendment to this bill is a friendly, clarifying amendment, and what it does is it takes and clarifies the notice of to a common interest community, and basically, so there's no confusion, the amendment provides that the notice to the governing board of the association for the common interest community is sufficient to notify all associated owners. With that, I recommend we approve the governor's recommendations.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate agree to the governor's recommendations? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The Senate adopts the governor's recommendation.
Senate Bill 1207.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteffe.
Mr. President, I recommend we adopt the governor's recommendation in speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Senate Bill 1207 allows for the operation of electronic personal delivery devices on the sidewalks and shared use paths and across roadways and on crosswalks in the Commonwealth unless otherwise provided or prohibited by a locality. The governor's amendment to this bill is a friendly amendment. The amendment clarifies that the plate or marker for the electronic personnel delivery device must be in a position and size to be clearly visible by an individual. With that, I recommend the governor's recommendation.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the governor's recommendations? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1212.
That'd be 1232.
I'm sorry, 1232.
Oh, thank you. The senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to amend the bill in accordance with the recommendations of the governor and speak to those amendments.
The senator has the floor.
This amendment is really recommended by DLS, and it just changes the expiration date to align it with other sections of the code that are relevant. So, again, I move the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the governor's recommendations? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1289.
The senator from Russell County, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to amend the bill in accordance with the recommendation of the governor. And speaking to the bill,
yes,
the bill, as recommended by the governor, is exactly in the form that it started out when I drafted it and filed it. There was an amendment to it. This puts it back in its original posture, and we think it's a friendly amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the governor's recommendations? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1463.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt the governor's amendment. The underlying bill adds language that the Virginia Resource Authority believed was needed to loan money to localities working with the Tobacco Commission funds. The governor's amendment adds language that does no harm but is unlikely to be used.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the governor's recommendations? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1583.
The senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt the governor's recommended amendment to Senate Bill 1583. Speaking to that
Senator
motion.
has the floor.
Senate Bill 1583 is the bill that Senator from Spotsylvania and I have been working on to make it easier for career technical experts, folks that have skills that we want being passed on to more people in our schools who might not want to become full-time teachers to do that. And it provides a list of exemptions of things that they have to meet that we usually would make other teachers qualified to do this. The governor has a clarifying amendment that strikes teacher and changes to individual who seeks to employ as a career and technical education teacher, meaning it won't apply to teachers that might be teaching science and then also teaching career and tech. I think it's a clarifying amendment that's honestly not that significant, but we can pass it.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the governor's recommendations? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, and are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House bill with governor's recommendations. House Bill 1433.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House Bill 1433 be amended in accordance with the recommendations of the governor. I'd like to speak to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill deals with the neighborhood assistance tax program, and there's currently a 10% set aside, and the Commission on Tax Preferences recommended that 10% set aside be applied only to new grant applicants in years where there was an increase year over year in the amount of funding. The governor is adding an emergency clause so that that policy can go into effect this current year. I hope it will be the pleasure of the Senate to adopt the proposed amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the governor's recommendations? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, and are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Regular calendar House Bill on third reading. House Bill 2220. The committee amendments have been adopted by the Senate.
Mr. President, I ask that bill go by for the day, please.
Without objection, House Bill 2220 will go by for the day.
Regular calendar House Joint Resolution on third reading. House Joint Resolution 693, proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Virginia by adding in Article 10 a section number 7-B relating to special funds for transportation purposes. The committee amendments have been adopted by the Senate, and there is a floor amendment.
The senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. The senator from Fairfax City.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I want to reintroduce the term double lockbox, which has nothing to do with Harry Houdini, but actually is a method by which we make sure that money is raised as revenues is spent in the appropriate place in our budget. You've already seen in the current form of the constitutional amendment it is to make sure that funds in the Transportation Trust Fund are used for transportation and are not diverted for non-transportation projects. Of course, the flip side of that is that money that is raised through the general fund, whether sales tax or income tax, is used for those purposes, which is to say education, mental health, public safety, and things of that nature, and is not siphoned off to be used for transportation where we already have dedicated resources. That's what essentially this amendment does. It has two carve-outs which recognize the fact that we have issued bonds under the full faith and credit of the Commonwealth, and therefore we're obligated to pay those, and this language has been blessed by our fine staff. It should look familiar to you that we're in this body a couple terms ago, because I think we put this on at least a couple times back in 2008-2009 timeframe. And with that, I move that we agree to the floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, speaking to the floor amendment, first of all, I'm a little surprised to hear that this has the blessing of fine staff. I don't know who that is who's given it its blessing. I'm sure that the language does exactly what the senator from Fairfax City wants it to do, and in that regard, I guess I'm not surprised that it has its blessing. But another comment from the senator from Fairfax City that caught my attention was his comment that we already have dedicated resources for transportation. Funny, last I heard in Northern Virginia, maybe there was a shortage of resources for transportation, but if that's not the case, I guess we can take that into consideration in further budget discussions, but I don't believe that's the case. I really don't. I understand that we have issues in transportation we need to address, but let me tell you what this floor amendment does. You know, we have a transportation trust fund. Listen to those words, trust fund. It is established as a trust fund, just like the Social Security fund used to be or was supposed to be. A trust fund, it's inviolable. We're not supposed to touch it for other purposes. It is set up for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to meet our transportation needs in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We ought not touch that. As a matter of fact, as I recall, we've had a couple of governors in a row, maybe 2, 3, or even 4 who've promised to protect the Transportation Trust Fund and work to get a constitutional amendment through to do just that. And frankly, I think it's overdue. I think that it's about time that we kept that promise to the people of the Commonwealth. We've been pretty good in exhibiting fiscal restraint and responsibility and not touching those Transportation Trust Fund funds for some considerable period of time. But future General Assemblies won't be as careful in that regard unless we do something. But, you know, when I look at the general fund, you know, there's something that's missing. It ain't a trust fund. It is a general fund. It is there to meet the priorities and the needs of the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And if it is a priority to spend on transportation, and we have the resources within the general fund, after meeting other priority needs, after meeting the needs of education, after meeting the needs of public safety, and we have the resources available in the general fund, not the trust fund, in the general fund to do that, and it remains a priority, we ought to be able to spend those resources on transportation if we want to. And what this floor amendment does is says we cannot. We cannot. This year we're creating a little reserve fund. And if we had wanted to, instead of creating that reserve fund, if we had decided that we wanted to commit that to a project, let's just say on Interstate 66 or 123 or something else in Northern Virginia or Hampton Roads, we would be barred by the Constitution from doing that. It's improvident. We should not do it. I would urge the members of the body to reject this floor amendment. It is not, the general fund is not a general trust fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I rise to speak against the floor amendment very succinctly. It's a debate that's been going on for at least 15 years, and I would encourage the body to reject the floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak against the floor amendment. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand the argument about the general fund and how if you're going to make a trust fund out of one, you got to make sort of a trust fund out of the other. The fact is that general fund is a general fund to be used for any purposes whatsoever. And the beauty of it is that the needs of the Commonwealth compete against one another within the general fund. And they should be allowed to do that, and they shouldn't be shielded so that we gradually narrow it down to the point where it really becomes a trust fund. And I think we should be able to use the general fund as we select, but at the same time, it is very essential that we protect that Transportation Trust Fund. So I think we ought to defeat this floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Fairfax County, Senator Saslaw.
I guess, Mr. President, what I'm hearing is it's okay to take money from public education, give it to roads, but it's not okay to take money from roads, give it to public education. Just a few facts here, and I know, God forbid, we should have that in this argument. This whole thing started with Governor Wilder in 1992, and Doug borrowed $238.7 million, and they repaid $379 million. It's been done 3 times, okay? 2003 and 2004, Warner did it, and Kane did it in 2007. All told, $908 million has been borrowed from the Transportation Trust Fund. What's been repaid to repay that back with interest? Let me repeat that again. With interest, $1.227 billion. In other words, it borrowed $908 million, paid back $1.227. The Highway Department doesn't spend every nickel within a 12-month period. This may come as a shock to some of you all, but I guarantee you they're not collecting 7.5% to 9% interest, which is what they got. And I ran into the main sponsor of this in the House the other night, And he says, I guess you think that people should be waiting in roads. This is exactly what he said to me. Should be waiting in the roads in order to fund public schools. I said, you bet. You bet. If I got to make a choice between K through 12 and roads, they can put off building that road for 6 months or 4 months. That $900 million that got borrowed, okay, you all know K through 12 is about 35% of our general fund, which means that your area, that statewide, it had been about $300 million, $350 out of the general fund. If you are in a low composite index area, which I'm not, your area is going to get clobbered, just clobbered. So, you can go ahead and do that and make yourself feel good and go back home and tell the people, I protected your highway money. You didn't protect their highway money. What you did was, in an emergency situation, screwed their schools. That's exactly what you did. Let's call it for what it is, okay? So while I'm going to vote for this amendment, whether or not it's accepted or not, I don't have any intention of voting for this constitutional amendment, because what you're doing ultimately is, if we get into a financial bind, it's your public schools that are going to pay for it. Make no mistake about it. I've been here through all three of the borrowings, and that's what they were borrowed for. And in each instance, it was repaid with interest and repaid quickly.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, speaking in favor of the floor amendment, Mr. President, I guess having been here a while, you have some institutional memory. And as I recall quite vividly, going back to the mid-2000s when John Chichester was chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, he made it very clear that all of us, on a bipartisan basis, support either the double lockbox or not at all. The single lockbox of locking up the Transportation Trust Fund without also locking up the general fund not to be used for transportation was a fool's errand. That wouldn't work. That's John Chichester. Back then, as I recall, he was on the other side of the aisle. And also, as I recall, if I'm not mistaken, the senator from Harrisonburg at the time, who used to teach at the JMU accounting, would stand on the floor of the Senate year after year after year and say, we need to raise the gas tax because we need more money for transportation. Not take it from public education, but do what Harry Byrd recommended and he put into effect years ago, pay as you go with the gas tax, going back to the 30s and even before. Mr. President, transportation is extremely important. And I think the senior senator from Virginia Beach, in his bill that passed the Senate and didn't pass the House, had it right. Raise the gas tax. I think his bill was 2.21%, 2.1% at the wholesale level. It makes sense. If you want to use the roads, then pay for it. And by the way, Mr. President, if you look at who pays for the gas tax, 25 to 30% of the people who ride on the roads of Virginia come from out of state. They pay the tax. We go to their states and we pay their gas tax. We pay for their roads. Let's let them have a share in paying for our roads. The honor and pleasure and privilege of paying for our roads should come from people out of state. But, Mr. President, we should not pay for our roads through public education. We should not take from our children's education to pay for our roads. The general fund is every bit as important as the Transportation Trust Fund. Both are important. Both are critical. Let's lock up the Transportation Trust Fund, not use it for general fund purposes, and let's not use general fund purposes for transportation. Let's not use public school money for transportation, for mental health money for transportation, law enforcement fund for transportation. The list goes on and on with regard to the general fund. We shouldn't use our higher education funding for transportation, and that's what we're doing. If we don't have a double lockbox, that's exactly what we're doing. So I will vote for the amendment, and if the amendment doesn't pass, Mr. President, we ought to not have a constitutional amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't, this is actually the first time I'll say this on the Senate floor. I didn't plan to speak to this today. I was curious to how long it would take me to have such an opportunity. But we've now heard speeches about the gas tax and against the fundamental question of the bill. But what we're actually talking about here is on the floor amendment offered by the senator from Fairfax City. And as I heard these remarks, I was reminded of some outstanding speeches that have been given by the senior senator from Fairfax in the past, by the senator from Fairfax City just a few days ago, and also from the senator from Bath County about we have to be careful about monkeying around with the Constitution of Virginia. And here we are. We have a resolution from the House to the Senate that's been reported from Privileges and Elections. And instead of just trying to defeat it on a straight-up vote, we're messing around with it. You know, the hour is late. We all know what will happen if this amendment's adopted, and we ought not reject it. If you don't like the constitutional amendment that's proposed, vote against it. Don't try to violate the Jeffersonian principle of amending the bill and then voting against it. So I hope we'll reject the amendment and get straight to the debate on the actual constitutional amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The chair is uncertain. There will be a recorded vote. All in favor of the floor amendment will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 19, noes 20.
Ayes 19, noes 20. The floor amendment is defeated. The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Okay. It doesn't need to go into. A parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
Yes, Senator.
Because this does not have to go into conference, is it possible that this could go by for the day without perishing?
The Senate will. Senator, your question, according to Rule 23 of the scheduling resolution, this can go by for the day.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Would you like to make that motion?
Sorry, Mr. President. I thought I had made that motion. Mr. President, I would like to make the motion that this please go by for the day.
Without objection, HJR 693 will go by for the day.
Memorial resolutions.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that all the memorial resolutions on pages 45 through 47 of the calendar, including House Joint Resolution, including House Joint Resolution 942 through Senate Joint Resolution 426, be agreed to in the usual manner.
435. I'll be glad not to read some of them.
Be agreed to in the usual manner in the block, waiving the reading of the resolution with the understanding that any senator who desires to remove a memorial resolution from the block will please do so after the clerk has run the title.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the memorial resolutions on pages 45 through 47, HJR 942 through SJR 435, be considered in the block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolutions thereof, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the title of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will please read the titles of the memorial resolutions.
House Joint Resolution 942, celebrating the life of Senior Chief Special Warfare Operator William Ryan Owens. House Joint Resolution 974, celebrating the life of Senior Chief Petty Officer Scott C. Dayton. House Joint Resolution 1035, celebrating the life of Charles Henry Gleason, M.D. House Joint Resolution 1036, commemorating the lives and legacies of the Jewish victims of the Holocaust. House Joint Resolution 1037, celebrating the life of the Honorable Charles Weldon Wampler, Jr.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Mr. President, can that come out of the block?
Without objection, HJR 1037 will go out of the block.
House Joint Resolution 1051, celebrating the life of Marie Gwendolyn McNair Moore. House Joint Resolution 1052, celebrating the life of Thelma Montalee Mullins. House Joint Resolution 1063, commemorating the life and legacy of Ella Jane Fitzgerald. House Joint Resolution 1064, celebrating the life of Josh Hardy. House Joint Resolution 1080, celebrating the life of Grady Craven Frank, Jr. House Joint Resolution 1081, celebrating the life of William Livingston Berry. House Joint Resolution 1082, celebrating the life of Carolyn Sue Allen Saunders Webb. House Joint Resolution 1083, celebrating the life of Nancy Rogerson Brown Reuter. House Joint Resolution 1086, celebrating the life of the Honorable Michelle B. McQuigg.
The senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Mr. President, could that be taken out of the block?
Without objection, HJR 1086 will come out of the block.
Senate Joint Resolution 426, celebrating the life of Ivor Noel Hume. Senate Joint Resolution 435, celebrating the life of Alfred C. Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With the exception of Resolutions 1037 and 1086, the resolutions will be agreed to in the usual manner. All those in favor of agreeing to the resolutions will please rise. The resolutions are agreed to. Returning to page 45, HJR 1037, the senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Mr. President, I move that the resolution pass. And speaking briefly to this, Mr. President, there probably are only 2 or 3 folks in this chamber who remember Charlie Wampler, and maybe only 3 or 4 who served with him. He served from 1954 to 1966. Maybe the senator from Fairfax served back then, but actually I'm confident that nobody here served with Charlie, but Charlie Wampler was a pillar of our community. He was a great gentleman. Charlie died recently at the age of 101, and Charlie was actually, one of these servant citizens. Charlie was a guy who grew up in the poultry industry. His father and grandfather created what became Wampler Poultry, which later became Wampler Longacre, which later became WLR Foods, which was a Fortune 500 company, one of the largest food manufacturing companies in the world, and was based in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, and really pioneered integrated production of poultry in the world. And he was just a real pioneer. And he established Harrisonburg, and the Shenandoah Valley is the poultry capital of the world. Started what was the Friends of Feathers Society, which was just a great organization of folks involved in the industry. And in one of the early Friends of Feathers festivals and parades, somebody actually had the true story, this brainstorm that some of you will recognize who are old enough to have watched WKRP in Cincinnati. They had the Friends of Feathers parade that went by the Nays department store in downtown Harrisonburg, and somebody decided that they were going to actually drop live turkeys from the roof of the Nays department store in order for folks to collect these live turkeys and take them home. And as you can guess, it was an unmitigated disaster. But Charlie was just a great guy. He was involved in many charitable endeavors. There was not a charitable activity in the Shenandoah Valley that he wasn't involved in. He was actually a greeter at the hospital cafeteria. And if you ever went to the Rockingham Memorial Hospital cafeteria, up until about 4 weeks before his death, Charlie was there greeting people, saying hello, chatting them up, sitting with them, and just making them feel better no matter what circumstances they were in. So, Mr. President, with just that little bit of history, I just wanted to call to the members' attention the life and passing of Charles Wampler, former member of the Virginia House of Delegates, and just all-around great man.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Bath County, Senator Deeds.
And Mr. President, I don't want to trespass on anybody's time very long. Charlie Wampler, there were 3 people born in 1915 that had a significant effect on Virginia's history, and they all lived long lives. The first one to go was John Warren Cook, who was Speaker of the House from 68 to 80. He was one of the most gentle people you would ever want to meet. The second was Harry Burr Jr. Harry Burr Jr. had an unbelievable memory for Virginia politics and history. Charlie Wampler was unique in that, number one, his father basically invented integrated agriculture, changed the way food's produced in the world, and he did it in Rockingham County. He was unique because he played tennis twice a week up until very close to the end of his life. He still was a very active older gentleman, and he was unique, number 3, because while the Shenandoah Valley now is very red, in those days Burr Democrats ran the show, and Charlie would still, at least in the last time I sat down and talked with him, he was still mad about Baker against Carr because that shoved his district up into Shenandoah County, and that gave him more Republican precincts, and he wasn't reelected in 1965, I guess. He was a great guy, though.
Thank you, Senator. The resolution will be agreed to in the usual manner. All those in favor of agreeing to the resolution will please rise. The resolution is agreed to. On page 46, HJR 1086, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Surville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the resolution pass. And speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, last Thursday, those of us in the Prince William delegation received a shock when we learned that our county clerk, Michelle McQuigg, had passed away. Many of us knew that she had been ill, but we didn't know she had been as sick as she was. And she served on the Occoquan. She served on the Prince William County Board of Supervisors, representing the Occoquan district, I guess, from 1992 to 98. She served in the House of Delegates after that, 1998 to 2007. After that, she was elected as the clerk of Prince William County, where she served there for, I guess this was her ninth year. She was just reelected to a full term last year, and she's done a lot to modernize that court. Served in this body very ably before she retired, and very well known, well loved in Prince William County. She lives in my Senate seat. I actually knocked her door during my campaign, stopped by to say hi, and we're going to miss her in Prince William County. And move that we pass the resolution.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, rising to speak to the resolution.
The senator has the floor.
I was able to spend some time last night with Michelle McQuigg's family, and our families, mine served in Dale City Volunteer Fire Department for a number of years. Michelle's with the Occoquan Woodbridge Volunteer Fire Department. We have a little bit of rivalry between departments, but have been good friends for almost 20 years. But I wanted to share with the body what I learned with her, meeting her almost 25 years ago. In Prince William County, Michelle was known as a person walking the neighborhoods with a floppy straw hat and worn-out shoes. And she really was someone dedicated to the work ethic of reaching out and listening to people door to door to door, whether it's hot, cold, no matter what. And she gained a lot of respect, and it really was. And she treated each position seriously. Although we might have not agreed on some things, she really was dedicated, and you could see that from the heart of a person as a public servant. And with that, I also ask that the body accept the resolution.
Thank you, Senator. The resolution will be agreed to in the usual manner. All those in favor of agreeing to the resolution will please rise. The resolution is agreed to.
Commending resolutions.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you very much. I'd move that all the commending resolutions on pages 47 through 52 of the calendar, including House Joint Resolution 1002 through Senate Resolution 157, be agreed to in the block by voice vote. Waiving the reading of the resolution, any senator who desires to remove a commending resolution from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the number of that resolution.
Thank you, Senator. The question issue of the commending resolutions on pages 47 through 52, HJR 1002 through SR 157, be considered in the block by voice vote, waiving the reading of the resolutions with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will please read the number of the resolutions.
House Joint Resolutions 1002, 1003, 1031, 1032, 1033, 1034, 1038, 1039, 1040, 1041, 1042, 1043, 1044, 1045, 1046, 1047, 1048, 1049, 1050, 1051, 1054, 1055, 1056, 1057, 1058, 1059, 1060, 1061, 1062, 1065, 1066, 1067, 1068, 1069, 1070, 1071, 1072, 1073, 1074, 1075, 1076, 1077, 1078, 1079, 1084, Senate Resolution 156, 157.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The question is, shall the resolutions be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolutions will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions are agreed to.
Turning to the supplemental calendar, unfinished business House Bill 1837. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we insist on our substitute and request a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 2237. The House has rejected the Senate amendment.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we recede from our position. This bill would add local social services offices to allow the state inspector general to investigate cases because the IG can choose which cases they can investigate. Therefore, there'll be no budget issue at this time.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate recede from its amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 2251. The House has rejected the Senate amendment.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate insist on its amendment and request a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendment and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Unfinished business Senate.
Mr. President.
The senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
I move to reconsider House Bill, the manner in which House Bill 1837 was agreed to so all members can vote.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 1837 be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Bedford.
Mr. President, I move that we insist on our substitute and request a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Unfinished business Senate. Senate Bill 1359 has passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move that the body accept the House amendments. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
This is the lead water testing bill that this body approved, a fairly significant margin. I'm afraid some poison might have leached into the water down the hall in terms of eliminating lines 17 through 21 on the reporting requirement. So the bill is now, it's a lead water testing bill that's now, it finds itself a little bit watered down. But having said that, I believe that school boards will report on important information, one form or another. They've eliminated online and other forms of reporting. It's my hope that school boards will take the right action. And with that, I move the body accept the House amendments.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1418 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Russell County, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with the House substitute. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
So the bill out of the House that was identical to this bill has already gone to the governor. It came back with some recommendations. those recommendations are going to be accepted by the House member that is carrying the same bill, and the amendment that was placed on this bill was in accordance with the governor's recommendations, so that he doesn't necessarily need to do anything else to the bill. So it really just changed some language, moving it from one section to another section to make it clear that we weren't doing something with the bill that might produce, might make it easier to build another coal power plant.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 1.
Ayes 37, noes 1. The motion is agreed to. If we could return to page 9 of the first calendar. House Bill 1530. The senator from James City County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask that that bill be passed by for the day.
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, House Bill 1530 will go by for the day. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I respectfully move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 1.
Ayes 38, noes 1. The reading of the communication is waived.
On page 10, on House Bill 1549, the House has acceded to the Senate's request for Committee of Conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Education and Health. Senator Newman are Senators Hanger, Cosgrove, and Barker. On page 11, House Bill 1731, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of General Laws and Technology, Senator Ruff, or Senators Donovan, Suderline, and Evan. And the House has acceded to the request of Committee of Conference on all of these bills I'm reading. So conferees on the part of the Senate on 1974 is named by the Chairman of Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources, Senator Stewart, or Senators Norman, Hanger, and Mason. On House Bill 2101, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Education and Health, Senator Newman, Senators Donovan, Barker, and Newman. On House Bill 2200, conferees on the part of the Senate 2209, I'm sorry, long day. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Education and Health, Senator Newman, or Senators Donovan, Suderline, and Lucas. On House Bill 2262, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Education and Health, Senator Newman, or Senators Newman, Saslaw, and Chase. On House Bill 2304, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Education and Health, Senator Newman, or Senators Hanger, Howell, and Newman. On House Bill 2366, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of General Laws and Technology, Senator Ruff, or Senators Ruff, DeSteff, and Surville. House Bill 2383, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources, Senator Stewart, or Senator Stewart, Wagner, and Surville. Page 40. Senate Bill 1573, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of General Laws and Technology, Senator Ruff, or Senators Wagner, Vogel, and McPike.
While they're doing some housekeeping.
On page 19, House Bill 1525, conferees of the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Transportation, Senator Carrico, and this is a change. Senators Reeves, Cosgrove, and Surville.
While we're working through this paperwork, if you all wouldn't mind, if you look in your desk and see if there's a gavel in there. All right.
Sorry, I did not do that, you know. Senate Bill 854, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain or Senator Stanley, Obenshain, and Howell. Page 29, Senate Bill 1063, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Rehabilitation and Social Services, Senator Reeves or Senator Deeds, Hanger, and Wexton. On Senate Bill 1091, page 30, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Stanley, Eben, and McDougall. Page 30, Senate Bill 1239, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Rehabilitation and Social Services, Senator Reeves, or Senators Hanger, Favola, and Cosgrove. Page 34, Senate Bill 1412, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of General Laws and Technology, Senator Ruff, or Senators Suderline, Sturdivant, and Mason. On page 34, Senate Bill 1413, conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Obenshain, Peterson, and Sturdivant.
The Senate will stand at ease. The Senate will come to order. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully move we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, and are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The reading of the communication is waived.
I have conferees on page 11, House Bill 1663. Conferees named by Senator Newman, Chair of the Committee on Education and Health. Senators McClellan, Donovan, and Peake. This is a change on House Bill 2467. This is a change as named by Senator Carrico, Chair of the Committee on Transportation. On House Bill 2467, Senators Stewart, Eben, and Obenshain. Another change on Senate Bill 1239, appointed by Senator Reeves from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services. Senators Hanger, Wexton, and Cosgrove. That's Senate Bill 1239. On House Bill 1837, conferees named by Senator Newman, Chair of the Committee on Education and Health, Senators Carrico, Hanger, and Barker.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good evening, Mr. President. How are you, sir?
I'm well, and you, sir?
Are you ready to call it an evening, sir?
If you are, yes, sir.
Inquiry of the clerk. Does that complete this evening's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other business to come before the Senate? The clerk will please report any communications on the desk.
Tomorrow, Friday, February 24th, the Republican caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session, Senate Room 2. Democratic caucus, 1/2 hour before session, Senate Room 1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.